Nearly everyone agrees that liberty is awesome, but what is liberty? More specifically, how can you judge whether or not one has more liberty than another one? This is important because to choose how we will conduct ourselves, we will want to judge how our conduct interacts with liberty. A naive interpretation would be the number of choices that one has. I object to this on the grounds that meaningful choices are more liberating than the same number of less meaningful choices. If that wasn't true, then a choice without any impact at all could be viewed as liberating, even though the person might as well have not had the choice. This distinction actually introduces another component of confusion. Now, meaningful choice must be defined. A choice can only be understood as meaningful in comparison to not having that choice. Since there are multiple ways of not having a choice, it should be specified as to which option is being forced. For example, a choice between being punished and being rewarded can be compared to simply being punished or to simply being rewarded. When comparing the choice to simply being punished, the choice can be expressed as including the liberty to be rewarded, and the opposite as including the liberty to be punished. Intuitively, the liberty to be rewarded feels more meaningful than the liberty to be punished. So, there must be something other than the difference between the consequences of each action which contributes to the meaningfulness of a choice. In this case, the obvious difference would be that the rational actor wouldn't choose to be punished. So, what constitutes meaningfulness of a choice is the difference in consequences of having that choice. Under this definition of liberty, all theories of ethics can be viewed as arguing for specific restrictions on liberty. Note that just because every theory of ethics argues for restrictions on liberty, that does not mean that following the theory wouldn't lead to more liberty than not. To show this, imagine a theory that advocated for the restriction of the liberty to directly restrict liberties which aren't this liberty, which is a mouthful, but the fun of saying it is enough of a reason to include it in the video. However, the actual reason I included it was because that is basically a definition of the non-aggression principle, sans property rights, that anarcho-capitalists hold so dear. Based on the way I phrased that sentence, you should have been able to determine that either I believe that the non-aggression principle doesn't maximize liberty, or that I don't want to maximize liberty. Well, the joke's on you, because the answer is both, but I'm still not an anarcho-capitalist. The theory that would maximize liberty would be one that argues for restrictions on the liberty to either directly or indirectly restrict liberties that aren't this one. This theory is leagues more correct than the non-aggression principle, because there is nothing about the direct-indirect distinction which is ethically relevant. This dispute is actually a subcase of the agent-relative agent-neutral distinction, which I rank as the most important question in modern ethical theory. Agent relativism maintains that consequences' ethical meaningfulness can differ only if the differences can be expressed relative to the agent that makes the choice. Agent neutrality states that consequences' meaningfulness can differ only if the difference can be expressed from a viewpoint tied to no agent. There's also theories that argue that both points of view are useful for determining what is meaningful. It is worth noting that this distinction between agent relativity and agent neutrality is primarily a more accurate representation of the disagreement between deontologists and consequentialists respectively. It is clear to me that agent neutrality is the direct consequence of truth being objective rather than subjective. If you combine that with the idea that multiple people subscribing to the same normative ethical theory would be working towards the same goal if the theory is consistent, agent neutrality is the only possibility. Any amount of agent relativity seems to be a way of rationalizing the intuition that people of a closer relation to you matter more. The problem is that this isn't a moral intuition, but a selfish one. In fact, calling the theory self-centered is a literal rather than uncharitable interpretation. Oh, in case you were wondering when I disagree with the maximization of liberty, basically, if the liberty would result in comparative suffering, then it should be restricted. This is, of course, total utilitarianism. As always, if you disagree with anything I said, which based on the content of this video I'd be surprised if you didn't, please leave a comment describing why I'm a fucking idiot. And have a nice day.